I've finally figured out how to convert from the GoToMeeting format to a format that I can upload to YouTube. So I should be, next week I should be sending out a list of all of the recordings for the meeting so far. Anybody have anything they want to say before we get started? Awesome. Okay, so George is going to show us some cool stuff. Basically what the latest is on the LCAP forms that we've been developing in Vista. George?
Yeah, I think you have to make me presenter or something. Oh, never mind, I got it.
There you go.
So
if you go into Quick Start, then you should be able to share your application. There we go.
Good. So I would like so this is a new form. This is the CT eval form that running through Vista. It's not working yet. So let's see here. I mean, obviously, and so we're let's see. Toggle tools. Here we go. Yeah, I'm getting errors, but I think I'm worried. I think the errors may be there's an unterminated string literal. These are not errors, I think, that are present when you call up the form without Vista. In other words, I think it might be that CT evaluate. Here it is. So let's toggle that again. I should learn what that toggle is. Yeah, so there are no errors in the form as we have it, and it has a set of data on it, the way that it came. So I'm going to actually try to preserve, to write an option to preserve the data that's in the template now. So I'm trying to work on what is it that the processing that Vista does to the form screwed up some of the JavaScript or one of the fields or something like that. So that's where we are.
And this is based on the LCAP dictionary instead of our.
No, these are the forms from LCAP. Yeah. These are LCAP's forms.
Okay, cool.
But I haven't finished the map for this one, so this isn't based on our map. It needs it.
No. The map is going to allow us to preserve the data in FileMan. But the map the map that you're working on. I mean, I do use the map to identify, to associate the form ID with the file name, you know, for the form. So I do use the map for that, but I just hand entered those couple fields.
George, can you click on that over on the right side where it shows the error and go to that line and see what it is?
Sure.
Five on 38. Yeah, after CCTN plus, and then there's not another quote there after the closed bracket.
Oh, so that's what it is right here?
Yeah. Put a quote there.
If I had a quote right here, then it would work?
Yes.
How about that? I can't enter it here.
No,
But,
I
yeah.
mean after the closed square bracket.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So right there. Right
up there,
here.
yes.
Right there.
Yes.
I know. It's weird that would have gotten screwed up, but.
And now you've got a backslash. Yeah, okay, that's continuation. Okay. But yeah, that quote there, and you might try to mark it and save it, and sometimes Chrome will allow you to do things like that. But yeah, okay, that's the one though. That's the error.
That's cool. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So what I have to figure out is how my the processing program would have changed that. Because if we go over here, so let's do CCTN. Let's go over here and look at the source of this. How do I do this? Control this way. View page source. Here we go. And then I do a find this way. CCTN. And let's go find that line.
It's yeah. Well.
There it is. No, maybe. No, it's not.
Yeah, I think
there it is right there.
there.
There it is right here. And that.
But you'll notice that there's again, not around the quote. I mean, that square bracket still doesn't have the quote around it.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. So this is in the original. This is my processing didn't touch that. So that's the way it is in the original. And the weird thing is that when you load the form like this, which is without any processing by Vista, it's basically just loading the form into the browser, along with all of its defaults and all that sort of thing. It doesn't complain about that.
So the close quote for that line is actually 4 lines down from there, with the curly brace.
Okay.
And the backslashes are supposed to kind of allow you to do a multi-line string.
Oh.
But
okay, so let's look at. Why don't we look at? So this is the original here. So I want to keep this straight. So here is the one that's not the original. This is the one that I processed. That's failing, right? So I'm going to do a control view page source on this, and I'm going to do a similar find of CCTN and go down to that line. Am I there yet? Yes, I'm there yet. And let's see if this is, let's try to compare those two. They look.
What is your guess that CTN means?
Oh, so I think the problem is that your processing script puts in extra new lines. Like you see that there's a new lines in between each line of the code, and because Yeah, because it's a string, you need to have backslashes on each line that you're continuing. So I think that's why it's failing.
So who is that? Arted is saying that?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, thank you. I knew if we get the geniuses on the line today, we'd be able to fix this. That's great. So I should try not to put in. Was there any? Maybe I don't need to put in the extra new lines. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe what I need to. Yeah, you're right. Look at this. This is dense. There's no additional space, and so the fact that I'm putting an extra new line, you know, a carriage return line feed, when I scan through, I'm inserting that. That looks like that's causing the problem. Now, if I take that out, I don't know if that'll cause other problems too. But that certainly explains this error. How about that? Cool. You know how long it would have taken me to figure that out? Anyway, so let's be bold. Let's be bold. Let's try to fix the error in the intake form. We have Alexis has been studying it in theories. Maybe Arted has some new insight for us. Let's see. Where am I? Come on, give me a break. Slash. Oh, get out of here. Leave, get out of here. Leave. Does Surrey ever bug you guys? So that's the background form, and I want the intake form. Are you all still with me?
I am.
I am.
I think so.
Okay. So it's SI form. All right, so let's see here. We want to turn on this guy, console. Okay, so here's where we get. All I did is type the first field and press tab to go over here, and that it has an on click, and it's unhappy. I guess we should call up the original as well. Let's see here. It's the intake form, so the intake form. Okay, so all I did, what I had to do is I had to actually make a change. And this is the original. This is the original. It also gets this error. And here we have this is not the original. This is the one that I've processed. And it gets the error, and it's and so it's 14614, and here it gets a different error. It's in a different place. So what have you guys found out about this? Alexis, have you looked at it?
Yeah, and I really have to apologize to George that it's my fault that he and I didn't get to run through this yesterday. But I can show you here, George.
Can you share your screen? That would be lovely.
Yeah, sure. Here, let me.
I've stopped sharing. So why don't you share your screen and see what insights we can come up with this one.
Okay, come on. Okay, so let's see. Here's the background form, which does work. And I think that if I...
This is a background form as processed through Vista.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So in this array...
Oh, no, hold on. This is the background form as the original. This is the original. This is not the...
Which one do you want me to use?
Well, we're gonna have to go through both. So this is a good one to start with. This is the form as we got it from Artid, without any processing on our end. This is good. Use this.
Okay.
Use this.
So your method is calling document.forms, and in this case, it's calling which we can see defined here in the array that document.forms returns.
Yep.
So it's working there in the, let's see here, I think I've, now what I want is, except I want this to be intake, right? Okay. So here, I forget the name of the variable, but the variable, the value of which on this page is SBAC. On this one is, let's see, let's see, why did that happen? Well, here, you know what? Oh, it's F name. So it's syntake. Okay. So we can see here that although this fourth form here is in fact does represent the syntake form, a named element in this array, there's no object with the name syntake here. And I think as Dominic originally asserted, the problem for that is, the reason for that is you've got this CGI form, and in this case, the syntake form is nested within that CGI form. And since this is the first form I looked at closely, I thought maybe that was something that you needed to be the case for other reasons. But if we go look at, darn it, what is this one? SBAC? Yeah. In this case, where things do work, the SBAC form is not nested within your CGI form. So apparently having them nested is not necessary and does create problems. So I think it's as simple as closing that CGI form so that they're not nested like you did the first time around with the background form.
Cool.
So I think you just made a little, you know,
Artit, what do you think?
SI form isn't SI take. I mean, Syntake, I'm not seeing it in that form. That's
So I was actually just looking at the code that I've got here as well, and it looks like actually when I had saved the form from the browser, there should be an end form tag above the form tag for the SI or S intake, and for some reason when I saved the form and sent it to you guys, the browser cut that out. So that should be there, but there's actually another problem as well in that set of code.
Would you like to share your screen or not?
I'm actually working on 2 different computers, and I have WebEx up on the other computer that doesn't have the code.
Okay. So get to the view source there, Alexis, that he's talking about. Yeah. So he's saying that when he saved it, that line was dropped. So that there is actually there should be a slash form, just like in the background form. There should be a slash form on that line. It was just missing the way somehow in the way he saved it and then sent it to us. It got chopped off. So in his copy, he ends the form there.
I see. So they're not actually nested. It's just that
closing
tag got dropped.
That closing tag got dropped, and so now we got that error. Which it's good that we got it because this way we know we're missing a line or two. So that's good.
And that was I think that was my fault there. But then there's actually a couple other errors in the JavaScript which I just found. Let's see. I think we're looking at the same. So around line, let's say 1112. So just a little bit up from there.
1112?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that block there that has that just that block of code starting at 13 and going down to 16 needs to be commented out, or I guess deleted, really.
Ah. Okay.
And the reason for that is that refers to a form element that we deleted for this one that was in one of our other that we use here at Mount Sinai, but we're not using for the VA project. And then again, lower down where it starts, where you see that if SID INST equals MS, so that whole block down to 130 should get deleted as well.
Okay.
And I guess I apologize for not looking at this earlier.
No problem. Now, would you be able to do those 2 deletions and then send us a new copy?
Yeah, I can do that right now.
That'll be fabulous. Thank you. This is going to be great. I'd love to make progress on the intake form because that's one that we do have the form mapping done, and if we can get it to work and to start saving to FileMan, then I'll have 2 forms, and then I can work on the home form. Actually the two home forms. The home form and what's the other one? case review, the case review form. So that's what, and then we can start looking at getting, trying to make some test patients and having a number of test patients that have more than one form and be able to like look them up on the home page and then go to their case review page, which will show, you know, what forms they have. It'll, you know, it'll show an intake form and a background form, and then be able to navigate to those and update them and use the navigation at the top of the page to go back to the intake form and back to the home page, and basically have a little menu system with, you know, two menu pages and two forms that are all self-consistent and ready for us to start doing more testing on.
Arthur, this is Dominic. When you send these again, maybe it would be best if you save them a little differently. Perhaps kind of like the way Alexis has it open here, to just view on the source.
I'm sorry, could you speak up, Dom? I can't hear you.
Yeah, so I think the next time you send these forms, it might be best if you don't save it from the browser like you did last time, and instead do kind of like what Alexis has up on the screen, do a view source. Basically just copy and paste into a text file. That way we'll get the exact HTML that's generated.
Okay.
So what do you think got screwed up with the save as, Dom?
I've seen that happen a lot, actually. But browsers do whatever they can. Each browser is a little different, and they render the HTML that they get from the server in their own way that they think makes sense. And when you save it from a browser, I don't think it's very uncommon to have, you know, if you have Chrome versus Firefox, the HTML looks very different.
Wow. But in this view, but from the view source is a better representation.
Definitely, because the view source gives you exactly what came from the server.
Oh, cool. Oh, I see what you're saying. So the save as is actually giving you something after it's been interpreted from the server.
I believe that's how it works. Yes.
Huh. Interesting. Well, that's a trick. That's a trick that's good to know.
Yeah, I didn't know that as well.
Would you use wget to guarantee what you got from the server is what you're using?
Yeah, you could. You could do a wget. Well, it depends. No. It depends.
It probably won't work in.
It wouldn't work for Artit because he's not using a regular. You know, he's got a CGI process that generates the form, and it's not a wget. It's you have to do as I understand it, Artit, you're doing a post. You're doing this form gets generated based on a post out of the case review page. Right?
That's correct.
So yeah, no, you'd have to do you'd have to have a lot of sophistication to be able to do the WW, unlike, you know, the way a lot of web pages are done. Now, on our server, you could do a wget because we're giving the allowing on the URL line to specify what's needed to pull the form. Go ahead, David.
I'm just saying, the fact that it's using a CGI on the other end really shouldn't affect whether wget works or not. But I can also see that, you know, if you're using wget and there's some variables that are being evaluated that you're not passing with the wget, I can see how that works.
Exactly. In fact, when that's a design question for us. I mean, one of the things that Artit's system has, that the LCAP system has, is it has URLs that don't contain any data at all. I mean, they basically, all the data is passed in, you know, is passed as part of a post, you know, as passed in JSON. And we could migrate to that. That's in fact part of the reason for the existence of that form that we just saw that wasn't closed. That form contains the data that was passed to the generating program in order to generate to do the lookup and generate the form that was presented. And it's an interesting. I'm learning about it now, and how the LCAP system works in that way. And that's one of the ways we're different a little bit, because right now we're passing the parameters that generate the form in the URL. So that's a difference we got. But we could adopt the other approach, I think. But I will know better when I get those four things going. When I get the case review form working, because that's the one that actually does the post to that generates the. I mean, that's the menu option, which says, okay, show me the SI form for this patient, and that will generate the post to the processor which will evaluate the JSON that's passed to it and say, oh, you want an SI form for this patient, and then it does the lookup, from the database and generates the form. So that'll be a interesting moment when we can weigh the design, what do you call it, the navigational design. I would call that the navigational design. Cool. We got so much done today so far.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have this particular group of people together. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, no, it's been hugely helpful. So anybody else, is there anything else that we ought to talk about the forms right now? Or can we move on to test patients?
I'd say that sounds like test patients. Introduce us to Cynthia, please, those of us who have not met it yet.
Okay. Let's see here. I think I could share my screen. All right. So, what I'm proposing we do is that we come up with some synthetic test patients that can be used externally and are for this project, but that can be put on the website and put on our development system, and that we can use them without any worries. And almost every VISTA project has these worries. What test patients can I use, and how do I get test patients that are sufficiently detailed and have what I need to test my program.
And sufficiently realistic.
And right, exactly, but are not based on real patients, or so let's look at Cynthia. So I think open this or new tab. So the Office of the National Coordinator funded MITRE to build Cynthia and synthetic mass. And let's see, let's go to that. So this, I urge you guys to actually read some of this. It's about what the synthetic patients are, and all the tools that are available to look at the patients. So here's the synthetic mass dashboard, and you can And what they basically did is they built 35, I think, 25 or 35 models, computer models, representing different aspects of a patient's record, or actually, different characteristics about patients, so, for example, the progression of different diseases, how frequently people get diseases, and how they're treated, and what the age, and and all the statistics on how many, what percentage of people will get the disease, what percentage of people, if they get the disease, it will progress this way and that way. All these statistics were taken from public sources like the CDC website, but they have a list of, they went to about 15 or 20 public sources of population health data, and built these models, and the models are what I read about it, they are what do you call it? They go step at a time. What is that called? That's called David? What's the name of a computer model that has evaluates at every step?
So usually the word quantum is used to say that it's got.
I think you mean state machine.
State machine. That's what I mean.
All right, good.
These are implemented as state machines.
Okay.
Okay.
And do you know if they're finite state machines? Do you know if they're deterministic?
No, that I don't know. That'd be interesting to look at. But what they ran these state machines like daily. They basically ran it for every day from from a long time ago. I don't know, the 70s or something, forward. And they ran all 35 state machines for the same day. Basically, I think that's the methodology, and they use that to generate 1.5 million patient records. That is meant to synthetically represent the state of Massachusetts. And so in most details, so for example, population density and sex within that population, diabetes within that population, age within that population is all represented, supposedly, simulated through these state machines and through these 1.5 million patients. And they have here you can see what they give us. They have coded that they've used all the coding, SNOMED codes and RX norm codes and the other interoperability codes to represent things. Here's the vital signs. Here's vital signs. Conditions. This is the problem list. And here are the medications for this patient. Here are the allergies for this patient, the care plans. And these are represented with SNOMED codes. Procedures. Here's the procedures. Colonoscopy, documentation of current medications. This is medication reconciliation is represented this way. Encounters. Here are the, these encounters go back, let's see, all the way back to 2010. So they have this record covers from ooh, come on. Yikes. Yikes.
What happened?
I can't make this thing work. is so weird. There we go. I got Firefox and Chrome open at the same time, and they are battling for control of the screen. So anyway, so this they have encounters back from 2010. So this is, I don't know if you guys have experience with test patients in Vista and all that sort of thing. This is a fairly rich set of clinical data to have in a test patient. Oh, and right here you can download the patient's data in FHIR, JSON, or you can download a CCDA XML for this patient, or you can send the data via direct message. So that'll probably go as a CCDA. But anyway, so you can actually browse and find patients this way. I don't know if there's in these interfaces there's a way to put in criteria and find a list of patients that meet the criteria like age and sex and conditions, etc. I'm not sure about that. If somebody wants to explore it, it would be very, very nice. What I did is I downloaded all 1.5 the big zip files that they had. That's fine. Yeah, here we go. And I loaded them onto a Vista system, or I started up a Vista system, and I loaded the, come on, oh, it's not going to do that. You have to get the right port number. Cool. There we go. Okay. I loaded into this Vista system the files, all the files. Then I scanned all the files to pull out what the codes are, what codes they have, and I made a graph, a metadata graph inside Vista of all the files that are in the distribution, and counted, and then in that metadata file I stored tags, and I tagged things like, you know, the file extensions, the codes that were in it, the directory that it happened to be in. So if you were interested in, it was distributed in these. If you look at this, there's a directory in the distribution file called output 1, output 2, and you could see, you know, so output 1, what was in output 1? Well, this what was in output 1. At least the first 1,000 things that were in output 1. I limit the second screen displays to the first 1,000, because some of them will be hundreds of thousands long. So they have both the CCDA, they have CSV files of the you know, the allergies, the care plans, conditions, so you can actually see, you know, what these are. There's the date. There's one GUID and a second GUID. So one is probably patient, the other one is probably, anyway, and what the code is, the code is, and the oh, come on.
So George, did you do this with a table-driven approach for the mappings between the incoming files and Vista structures, or how did you do that?
I didn't. These are not inside Vista as Vista patients yet. These are
in the Vista store.
This is these are stored in the HFS portion of this Vista, right? The HF, the high function host. Mm-hmm. So there's a directory with all of these files are in a directory that Vista has access to. Inside Vista, there's a metadata graph, which points to those things. And then there's this browser, and we counted up the tags, right? So there's 3,100,000 files. So basically, it's 1.5 million CCDAs and 1.5 million FHIR files. And then here are all the vital signs. The 1.2 million of them have vital signs. So if we go in here, there's the first 1,000 that have vital signs, and they're in, you know, they start with an output 1. And so what I did is show the CCDA, and since we have one of each, we have the CCDA and the JSON, you can see the CCDA. So here's the remember this is an XML document, and what you're seeing here is the transformation of the XML document by the standard CDA style sheet. So if you looked at the you're looking at this nice display here, and you think you're looking at an HTML page, but you are not. What this looks like, oh goodness, it's all on one line. How about that? It's oh goodness.
Who needs a line feeds between friends?
Yeah. Let's see.
If you cut and paste that and put it in WordPad, it'll force it. It's a wrap.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's actually, does Quantum have a way? It may actually. Quantum may have a way to display this as nicely. Anyway, but the source, this is not an HTML source. This is an XML source with a style sheet. So you can see the CDA. I inserted this style sheet reference here before I sent it to the browser, and so you get this nice style sheet thing. But if you wanted the same patient, but if you wanted to see their FHIR JSON, here is the FHIR JSON. Now, of course, with JSON, Quantum does try to, you know, give you some kind of an outline view of it. But I like the raw JSON anyway to look at. So there's two ways to look at these Cynthia patients. You can go to all the Cynthia synthetic mass and Cynthia websites that MITRE has designed, which are lovely, and you can browse through them. And the second way, if you find a patient you like, we could probably look up this patient. Or you could download the FHIR here for this patient. It doesn't matter. Or you can browse through here and select by codes or by conditions. There's a way of browsing. You can't, I haven't built any queries by age or any of that sort of thing. But so what does this mean? I have some code that will register if you get one of these FHIR outputs. If we can get one of these, if you can point me to one of these, point me to a record, I can register this patient in Vista. And I have some code to do that. And I can register them from the CCDA or from the FHIR thing, using the what do you call it? Data loader from Vista for Education. We can use them. So, and you'd get all the demographics. So all the demographics would come over. And right now, that's all we can do. Later we'll be able to import more of the data from the patient into Vista. But right now, all that I'm suggesting we use for this LCAP project is that we find patients in Cynthia that represent test patients we want to have for our LCAP forms, and that we import them into Vista, at least register them into Vista, so their names, their addresses, all their age, their gender, their ethnicity, all this stuff, data, will be registered in Vista. So we'll actually have a VISTA patient in our VISTA system when we're doing our forms, and that we start to build up from scratch LCAP test patients using these as a synthetic source. So where you say people ask where did your test patients come from? Well, we selected Cynthia test patients that had the demographics that we wanted for test patients, and I would like to have people's input in what other demographics we want to look for, and what characteristics do we want to look for in Cynthia to identify our set of test patients. How many test patients do we want? But the general methodology is that we pick from Cynthia the patients that we're going to load into VISTA, register into VISTA, and then from there we will add characteristics to those patients using VISTA. So, for example, there's no, as far as I've seen, there's no indication of smoking or not smoking or any kind of smoking status in any of the Cynthia patients. They didn't generate any of those characteristics. But we're probably going to want test patients that have different characteristics about their smoking and other things. So how does that sound for and then basically what I'm saying is that once we have these patients even identified, even if they're not registered in VISTA, we can start to go to the LCAP forms, and so here, and then we'll put this person's name. We put the person that we picked, we put their name here, and their date of birth, and all this, and we basically go through and answer the question in this intake form. And actually, you probably could pull some of the data from VISTA, I mean, eventually, for this. But I mean, the data would be there, but we would know what data to fill in. We would know what data to fill into this forms for these things. And we'd pick a physician contact of a physician that is actually registered in the VISTA system, so that it's realistic. And then we would go down and fill out the contact form. And then we would build a background. We would then build a background form for the same patient, and we would have we would have the code would pick up the name from the same place that the name would be created here or matched up here with VISTA. And then when we go over to the background form, you'd get the same name and the medical record number, etc. And then we start filling out a set of forms for these test patients. But the test patients themselves are going to be synthetic mass test patients that we've adapted for our test purposes. And then we would go and make up a story about these people that suits us. Basically, what is the purpose in answering questions one way or the other and making up a story about the patients? Well, we want to test various functionality that our system has to have, and that functionality is going to be looking for characteristics of how these forms are filled out. And so we're going to have to have a mind to, well, what makes a difference to our in the processing that we're trying to do, and then make up some test patients according to that. Does that sound like a reasonable methodology to go through to get us some test patients?
So, George, well, I've been on the synthetic patient conference call, and one of the things they talk about is fidelity. They want to know if this test patient makes sense. Are the models that they have to generate these high fidelity patients, are they agreed that these are actually issues that would describe the test patients? Or would it be good that this study included more models to verify that the patients we're using are high fidelity? In other words, not just using a human to look at the data, but rather to describe it in some way so that the computer can recognize when they're good test patients or not.
I don't think we know enough to do that, David. I mean, I like your idea. It'd be great to be able to have be able to describe a set of criteria with a program, and let the program look at the Cynthia patients and pick the patients that have the characteristics of patients that are going to be good candidates for early lung cancer screening. But I don't think we know. I certainly don't know what those characteristics would be and how to write that program or what to look for in those patients.
Well,
so I think
I was assuming medical people would know those issues, not programmers.
Right. Well, I don't think we're going to get any. I don't want to rely. I mean, it'll be good. That'll be good later, David. If we can. My theory here is if we can start to get some patients, get a couple patients that we build that are good or bad test patients, that the value of having them, but are publicly available, and the process that we went through is going to be transparent, and it'll be on these calls, and then we'll have test patients. And if people want to, and then we could ask clinical people, whether or not there's any other thing they could see any other things that we could have used either through a program or by inspection to find better test patients, and then and see, and if we get some answers to that, that'll be fine. But I don't want to start with please give us a clinical definition of what we should look for test patients.
Actually, they have some of those parameters already. And I'm kind of wondering, it might be interesting to run these some of these test patients through the dashboard that they've created in Phoenix, where they basically go through and they find like patients who have previous lung cancer, COPD, asthma, those kind of diagnoses, and see if their dashboard would work on these patients. And that would probably give us an idea of, if there are things missing, what kinds of things are missing.
Oh, cool.
So that's something I think that eventually we'll want to include in the LCAP package, is the ability to basically filter out the patients that they want to cold call or contact in some way to say, hey, you may be eligible.
Right.
So, yeah, I will not be able to be on Friday's meeting, and I don't know, but we'll run that idea past the relevant people and see if we can get something moving.
Cool.
So, and I see that we are over time, so is there anything else in particular that we wanted to share, or any questions? Well, so Artie and David and Joel, and you all get gold stars today for your help. And everybody else, I think, chimed in at one point or another, so I'm very happy with our meeting today. Have a great day, everyone, and I think we will be having this call next week, but not the week that is between Christmas and New Year's. So, but we will send out a note on Tuesday to let you guys know if we are going to have this call.
Okay.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Linda. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye now.